Once upon a time, this was called craft brewing. Craft is something that you can do in your home, and so the fact that we're brewing beer 120 gallons at a time is not much different than what people do in their home at 10 gallons at a time. It's more important about what's in the glass. My name's Alan Sprentz, and I am the owner of Hair of the Dog Brewing Company here in Portland, Oregon. We're drinking a little Fred. Fred is a mentor of mine, a beer writer and historian. It's basically kind of a Belgian strong ale with a lot more hops than you'd find in a Belgian beer. I think it's great with food and company. We're brewing 5 brews today. I'll work till 5 o'clock this evening, where my assistant will come in and brew until 5 in the morning. And then I'll be back to finish. They're definitely full days, but we get the opportunity to brew lots of times. If I had a larger system, we wouldn't be able to brew quite as often, and it would change everything. There was a time where most breweries were put together with odds and ends from other industries. Our mash tun is from the dairy industry, the kettle is from the food service industry. It definitely helps you become involved with what you're doing. Some breweries now are so closed off that you barely even smell what's going on. Well, we don't have investors, and so that's one of the reasons that we can stay small. If we had pressure to make profit from investors that always wanted a return on their investment, it would be much more difficult. Adam was the first beer. Adam beer was something that was made in Dortmund, Germany once upon a time. Fred Eckhart and Michael Jackson both talked about it in their books. And so I thought it would be a great beer to start with, and then that became a trend for 4-liter names for beers. Dave is made with an ice distilled process. So instead of taking the alcohol out of the beer, we're taking the water out of the beer, and so it concentrates the alcohol, but leaves the sugars.
I had started a barley wine festival. It's grown to where we had 58 this year. Alan came down, and I think he slept on my couch, and he had a great time. The next year, he shows up with a beer, and it was what is now Dave. It was just a wood-aged barley wine at that point.
It was very hot and alcoholic when it was young, almost 30% alcohol, but very subdued and gentle now, more like a port.
And he won the Barley Wine Festival that year with it. The judges were arguing over whether it should be thrown out of the festival because it was wood-aged and so strong that they didn't think it was to style. And then there was another group at the table that said, this is the most fantastic beer I've ever had, and it's got to win this thing. I think it was probably about a year after Alan won the Barley Wine Festival, he shows up at the door with this wooden monument. He had finally dumped all the beer out of the wood. He sliced the end of the barrel off, made a plaque. It's been hanging on the wall ever since. As he said, so good, we broke the barrel.
Even though people have paid thousands of dollars for a 12-ounce bottle of it, it still is a very tasty thing to drink. And so people haven't been disappointed, I don't think. So we're almost done with the mash. We'll use a little over 500 pounds of grain, and that'll produce about 120 gallons of beer. It definitely doesn't seem like it's been 20 years. We've done 3,600, 3,700 brews. The fact that we have such an educated consumer base here in Portland, I think really helped me succeed. The people here in Portland know their beer, and they're willing to accept something like the strange and unusual beers that I make. For a long time, I really wasn't making a living doing this. The fact that people enjoy what we do here is really what makes it worthwhile.